Welcome to the second edition of DH 2040. Today we have with us Madan Padaki. He is a serial entrepreneur and the founder of a whole bunch of institutions, but I'll try to focus on some of them. He founded a village commerce network called One Bridge. He's also the president of TIE Bengaluru, which is a global network of entrepreneurs. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Dhanya, for having me here.
So, Madan, maybe you can start with what do you think legacy companies should do in terms of working closely with emerging startups to make Bengaluru a better place?
I think the startups and the legacy companies have a fantastic synergistic relationship. Some companies are already doing it, but I think there's always scope to do more. You know, you take startups which are agile, build fast, fail forward. And you take the corporate approach, which is plan and do things in a structured way. Especially in the rapidly changing world. I think both these entities need to learn from each other, right? What does a corporate planning and a business planning exercise look like for startups? Because I think we tend to veer off too much on the operate by the seat of your pants. And what do corporates need to learn about innovative thinking, breaking the rules, so on and so forth. Several examples of even at TIE Bangalore, we are supported by entities like Intel and Cisco and NetApp, Microsoft, so on and so forth, where they have a very active group that engages with the startups, right? And startups are very keen to work with the corporate. So I think there is a synergy. Having said that, I think there's a lot more to be done, and especially not just on the tech side. You take the entire gamut of large corporations, and not just the tech startups. You take the entire gamut of other startups. Given that, let's say we're sitting in a large 5-star hotel, how can the 5-star hotel work with home chefs? Women who are cooking fantastic stuff at home, and how can bridges be built there? So you could think of many ideas to connect, but I think it begins with the thought, and the question is an interesting one. I think we should explore and push boundaries a bit more.
So Madan, do you think policymakers are doing enough to support non-tech startups?
Bangalore, the good part about Bangalore is the moment you say Bengaluru, it is tech. Tech, of course, is infusing everything else. But I think we need to change the definition or the way we think about startups to entrepreneurs. Right? To me, an entrepreneur is more important than the startup. A startup is a manifestation of the entrepreneur's vision or the passion or whatever, right? And it is entrepreneurs who are job creators. Startups are only vehicles for that engine. So I think we should focus more on entrepreneurs rather than startups, right? And figure out how do you support an entrepreneur along the journey. And the entrepreneur could have multiple startups, some fail, some don't go forward, some don't scale, whatever. But I think I would personally want to lay the bet on an entrepreneur rather than the startup.
So what do you think we should do to encourage young minds in Bengaluru to embrace that entrepreneurial thinking that you just talked about?
Yeah. So Dhanya, the other thing which I feel strongly about is today you go to any part of Bengaluru or wherever in Karnataka, and I've done that several times. You ask a young person, 8th grade, 10th grade, 5th grade, who do you think is an entrepreneur? The usual answers that I get are, there's Bill Gates and there's Steve Jobs and there's Elon Musk and whatever, right? And closer home are entrepreneurs, Binny Bansal, and so on and so forth. But the recognition that the grocery store next door, the Udupi hotel that is being run, they're all entrepreneurs. They're creating 15, 20, 30, 40 jobs. So I've done exercises where I go to schools and say, hey, can you talk to 5 entrepreneurs that you think are running businesses in a 1 kilometer radius? Interview them and find out who's got the most entrepreneurial agility or trait. And the kids always come back with a lot of wonderment to say, I never looked at this guy as an entrepreneur. I mean, look at the kind of risks that this person takes, the effort that the person puts, the kind of innovation that happens. So I think if we can start recognizing that there are entrepreneurs all around us, and well, one part of it will do the transaction with them. If the other part can support them, can celebrate their journeys, then everybody feels pride in the fact that yes, I am contributing to the city and the economy around me. I think that switch is required. Otherwise, we are just creating a large pedestal and saying only these guys are entrepreneurs. I think we need to recognize that economy is run by entrepreneurs everywhere.
And Madan, you work so closely with rural entrepreneurs, right? So how do you think India can support them better?
And I'll also flip the question, how do you think they can support India better, right? One of the things that's always amazes me, Dhanya, is the entrepreneurial resilience and the jugaad that exists in our villages, right? Because there are so little resources to go around, I've seen entrepreneurs always keenly trying to figure out how do I make the best out of the resources that I have here with me. And the kind of ideas and the jugaad they come out with never ceases to amaze me. Somewhere, again, the narrative is that rural is poor, there's no talent, technology doesn't work that well, which are all, to my mind, yeah, there are, obviously along the spectrum, there are such kind of, realities out there. But I think in my mind, we've seen that there is enormous youth talent, there is a massive aspirational push, there is a huge hunger to absorb new technologies. And the entrepreneurial resilience and the energy that exists in the villages, to me, fills me with more energy than walking down to a coffee shop in Kormangala. So how do you then leverage that, right? And what kind of policies, what kind of support that we must, sitting in the Bengalurus of the world, extend there? And it is not a beneficiary kind of a relationship, right? How do we really partner? And how do we build bridges? Where we can leverage the power of a city like Bengaluru, but yet leverage the power of a village in Koppal.
It's more of a symbiotic.
It is a symbiotic relationship. So that's how this whole construct of Ruben, that it is not rural, it's not urban, it's a continuum of rural-urban. Right? How do you build those bridges, to me, are critical. Otherwise, we'll end up with like, whatever, 25, 30 million people in Bengaluru all jostling for scarce resources. Well, the villages have those resources, but nobody is really using them.
Yes. So now that we talked a little bit about rural and all that, I want to ask something specifically that OneBridge is doing. So you've teamed up with Mahindra Logistics to kind of improve your last mile delivery in rural areas, right? So what will the future of the rural supply chain look like?
Mahindra Logistics is one of our partners. We work with many partners. I believe that the future of commerce is decentralized, distributed. There is no reason why a product should travel hundreds of kilometers and reach some town or a village when there is enough capacity for the product to be produced there, right? So how do you then create what the late, very inspirational Leela Ben talked about 100-mile communities, right? How can you have the core essential services that any community needs? Health, education, financial services, retail, housing. How can you have all of that being provisioned within a 100-mile radius, right? And imagine the opportunities that it creates for local entrepreneurs to customize products and for local consumption to be, operating in a trusted environment. I think that's the future. And India is ripe. I mean, forget 750 odd districts now. If you take 3-4 clusters in them, we can easily envision 3,000 to 4,000 clusters of economic powerhouses that can operate at a local level. And it will optimize costs, it will optimize choices, and bring better access to all consumers.
Excellent. On that high note, I'm going to let you be because I've gotten my cue that it's time to wind up. But thank you so very much, Madan, for taking out the time. It means a lot that you're here at the DH Bengaluru 2040 Summit, and you're also giving our closing keynote address, so we look forward to that.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'm really looking forward to showing some ideas this afternoon at the keynote.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you.
Thank you.